find insight, guidance, and answers. Tune into Spirit with radio medium Laura Lee.
Laura Lee, tuning into your spirit with my 5-minute Spirit Reboot. I have a special treat for you if you happen to be down on your hands and knees and crying, praying out loud. This is the show for you. I have my special guest author with me, The Gift of Shift. Discover the key within to unlock your best life. I'd like to welcome Anne Papayoti.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So, Anne, I read that you've endured some brutal blows in life. You've lost a child. You had a child born with epilepsy, neurological disorders. You've had chronic illness. You lost a foster child due to unforeseen circumstances. It seems like you've been hit all round. I'm sure it's the basis for the book. Can you explain?
So The Gift of Shift, I co-authored with Tracy McDonald, a colleague, and it's really about the power of perspective and changing how you experience life, because we all have those brutal blows in life. Maybe our stories are different, but there's something that just pulls us under and makes us hold our breath, waiting to figure out where to go and what to do. And so each of these stories share with the reader to help them then reveal their own story and recognize the strength they had to pull through something, or to find out how they're still stuck in a story and holding themselves back in life.
That's key, isn't it? Because sometimes they don't even realize they're still stuck in that story.
Exactly. And I think it's all about taking the time to reflect. I know for me, after each blow in the beginning, when these first started happening to me, I would go under for a while, but then I would surface and then I would just keep going. And I didn't take time to stop and reflect and figure out how I arrived there, and the disconnect and incongruence literally with my soul. And so that's how the book is designed, so people will stop and reflect.
And that leads me to my next question. What advice do you have for someone out there right now who's just been hit with a brutal blow? Let's say a job loss, a chronic illness diagnosis. I have had a couple of those come across my calls recently, or a loss of a loved one. That happens a lot on our show, obviously. So what would you say?
I would say, first of all, acknowledge the pain. Acknowledge where you're at. Grief, I believe, is underrated. There's power in going through the grieving process and allowing yourself the time and space for that. Process implies movement. So you arrive somewhere else, but it's all different for each of us. And when you have nothing else, what I learned was to hold on to hope when you think you can't go any further. But I think we have to be with our pain, acknowledge it, look back a bit, understand it, look within, then look ahead.
You mentioned about a tool for someone to get out of it. What if they don't have any tools? Do you have a suggestion for a tool for seeing the light?
Absolutely. And the premise of positive psychology is not to deny the bad. It's to focus on the good. And especially for someone who's lost someone to death, it's to remember their life in a beautiful way. Instead of focusing on the loss of them and the death and what's missing now, grieving that for sure, but moving towards focusing on the good. So I use visuals, and I think of a rose. It has the thorny stem, the beautiful blossoms at the top. They're both there. We get to choose where we're going to focus our gaze. And I learned to focus on the blossom, but not to deny the thorny stem at the same time.
What's the big takeaway?
I would say to really notice your life. So that requires that stopping, that pausing. I call it floating because I use a lot of metaphors with water, but to stop and float. You know, when you're underwater, you can hear your breath and you can hear your heartbeat. So you can reconnect to really who you are. And I call it really doing soul CPR. So you can get back in touch. And when you're floating, you know, you're visual and you see options and you just get back in touch with who you are. So my takeaway is this: notice your life, stop and float a while. What has a grip on your heart? Is it a story from your past that needs to be released? Because the lesson's always in letting go, but it's hard to let go without doing the reflection first, or we just keep swimming like I used to do.
Thank you for that soul CPR wisdom. I like that. The book is called The Gift of Shift. with Ann Papayoti and Tracy McDonald. Where can they find the book?
The book's available from all major online retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or if you want to support your local bookstore, they can order it from their Ingram Sparks catalog.
And if you like this episode, subscribe to find more. And I'm always available to receive your calls. Go to radiomediumlauralee.com and sign up. We look forward to hearing from you.